Jenks, what sticks out to you here?
God, I think it's just the Astros here. I think this is such great value on the Astros, and you do have to take playing at Citizens Bank Park into consideration because clearly it's a road game. But I see such a significant pitching advantage for the Astros here. And if you look at Noah Syndergaard, yeah, he's been very good in the playoffs. There's no questioning that. But facing the Astros lineup is a different thing together entirely. And he only has two starts against Houston. That was a member of the Angels, so that was a while back. Did pretty well, not great. I don't really trust Noah Syndergaard, I think is what it comes down to, because he's still a good pitcher. He's not the Thor of old, but still very good. I think there is an advantage with Lance McCullers, and I'm not quite so sure that Syndergaard doesn't get touched up early in this game. I don't expect him to last long here, and that, to me, just speaks to putting some money on the Astros because as a favorite, the Astros at minus 130 is a pretty good price.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous to fade this Phillies team at home, though, because the fact that they scratched across a win against Justin Verlander, how many runs did they get against JV? Was it
Yeah.
five? Because that's the thing. Both these lineups are so hot right now. And looking at the Astros, I think the way to play the Astros is maybe go for a team total in this one. That way you don't kind of have to sweat the Phillies getting hot and hitting some home runs here. So Astros team total set 3.5 over at BetMGM, but very juicy at minus 150. However, I do think that is the play because look at the caliber of pitching that the Astros have already raked against. Going against Zach Wheeler, going against Aaron Nola, they combined for 9 earned runs against those two starters alone. And we're not even factoring in the bullpen here, which I think Noah Syndergaard probably isn't going to last long in this one. I do think the Astros can get to him. And also, if there's a strikeout prop on Noah Syndergaard, I don't think this is listed just yet. That's what I was looking at. But that's the thing. Even in those games against the Astros where he actually pitched pretty well, he did not strike out many batters. One strikeout in 5 1/3, third innings of work back in April. And then the last time he faced him, only 3 strikeouts because the Astros are not really a strikeout prone team. But I think the way to go here is an Astros team total. I'll count on this Astros lineup to continue raking. And it's not as feast or famine as, say, sometimes the Phillies can be because they can live and die off the long ball a little bit, like not as bad as the Yankees are.
Yeah.
But maybe Lance McCullers has a good game here because he does have postseason experience. He's pitched in a World Series. He is a good pitcher with top line stuff. And the Astros do have a good bullpen, at least during the regular season. So I think the way to play this for me, Astros team total over 3.5.
Oh, I think I may play that as well. I like that quite a bit. And I know it's a little juicy here, but when you consider, and I know you went over a lot of this, Syndergaard and how he's not quite the Noah Syndergaard he used to be. And yeah, the Phillies bullpen has been better in the postseason, but those Astros bats and Jose Altuve, who has completely come alive, I think that's a big factor as well. I talked about going into the World Series, how, look, this guy's too good of a hitter not to heat up at some point, right? And already through a couple of games, he's batting over 400. So he wasn't going to be silenced for too long. And now that bat coming alive adds to an already potent lineup. So I think I'm going to be with you on that. At the very least, 3.5 seems a touch low for the Astros and that lineup. And you make a good point. This atmosphere may get crazy. It will be crazy tonight in Philadelphia. But if there is any team that is equipped to handle this, who has been in this situation numerous times, it is the Astros.
So let's look at the other side and also the total, because I was just looking around at some other books. Some other places have 7.5. It's juiced to the over, but 8 seems like a high total. But if we've seen anything, it's that both of these lineups can hit top end pitching. I know the Phillies didn't really score many against Framber Valdez last time out. Valdez only surrendering 1 earned run, but Lance McCullers is a guy, like I said, he has really good top end stuff, but also somebody who can kind of labor through innings, and he'll strike out a lot of guys, but he'll also work those counts in which he has a ton of pitches, and then they'll get to the bullpen a little bit earlier. I do think that the Astros are in a good spot with their bullpen. They haven't had to use a ton of guys in the first 2 games, but isn't it hard to fade this Phillies lineup? I think the over might be a solid play too.
Yeah, I think so. Would you feel more comfortable at 7.5, or is 8 about the right? 8 feels about right, but if there's going to be a game that goes over, I feel like this is probably the one. And the fact that money in some spots has pushed it to 8, I think makes it the right side here. Honestly, Chelsea, it wouldn't surprise me either if we see, the Phillies bats are so good. The way I feel like this game is going to play out is that the Astros get to Syndergaard first, and they jump out early in this game. And then as the game goes on, maybe the Astros tack on a couple more, but those Philly bats are good enough to maybe generate some runs as well, and that probably pushes the total. I'm thinking the Astros come out, they take the lead early based on McCullers, and they end up holding on to win this game with the team total going over and the total for the game going over as well. I do believe that's the right side.
Right, because both of these games that we've already seen between the Phillies and Astros, it's been true ace versus true ace. Because the first
Right.
game was Aaron Nola, second game was Zach Wheeler, on the other side, Justin Verlander and Framber Valdez. I think once we get into the later games of these series, I think we are going to see more overs. And we've already seen some overs between the true aces. So once these hitters get to see the same bullpen arms over and over again, and once they're seeing the 3 and 4 guys in the rotation, I think we will see runs. And obviously it's reflected in the total because 8 is probably the highest total that we've seen in the postseason, at least in the World Series so far. What about a side? Are you willing to trust the Astros here, or do you think that the Phillies have a fighting chance? Because the other play I'm seeing here, if it was a touch less juicy, maybe I'd go with the Phillies run line plus 1.5 here, because I do think they have a shot. Like, I'm not ready to count out the Phillies in any way, shape,
Mhm.
form, or fashion, just because if they can hit off Justin Verlander, I feel like they can hit off just about anybody.